Do you ever feel like your life is a fight you're losing? I've been there. Every morning you wake up, begins a new round in this endless boxing match, and sometimes it feels like everyone is betting against you. The worse it gets, the more you feel like betting against yourself. But no matter what battle you're facing, remember this simple truth. Jesus can sympathize. He can relate to the pain. One of the reasons we feel like we're losing is because we have this misconception about the ring we're fighting in, and we misunderstand our opponent. We're fighting what we can see in front of us when the real problem is invisible. We're not in a normal fight, and we can't expect to win by fighting the way you would fight normally. We're on a spiritual battleground. To win in that arena, we must learn to fight like Jesus. And Jesus fought differently. In John 18:36, Jesus says, "My kingdom is not of this world. If my kingdom were of this world, then my servants would be fighting so that I would not be handed over to the Jews. But as it is, my kingdom is not of this realm." Jesus is saying we won't win this fight with natural might. To win a spiritual battle, we've got to fight with spiritual weapons. Paul says the same thing in Ephesians 6:12. "For our struggle is not against flesh and blood." Then what are we fighting, Paul? The spiritual forces of wickedness in the heavenly places. The Apostle Peter didn't get it at first. He fought the way we fight, with whatever was in his hand. When the soldiers arrest Jesus in the garden, Peter takes out his sword and he starts swinging. But Jesus immediately says, "Put your sword away." Then he asks Peter in John 18:11, "The cup which the Father has given me, shall I not drink it?" He's saying, shouldn't I do what God has told me to do? Jesus is revealing his secret here. Jesus knew who his opponent was, but he also knew who his coach was. God the Father was the trainer in Jesus' corner, and he had been telling him exactly what to do the whole time. Jesus was casting out demons, he was healing the sick, restoring life to dead people, and then suddenly, when it seemed like Jesus was winning, God told him to start taking the hits. The Father said, "Stand still and let yourself get hit." This doesn't make sense to us, but that's because Jesus was fighting a spiritual battle. He was fighting the battle for your and my eternity. Jesus says in John 15:13, "Greater love has no one than this, that one lay down his life for his friends." Jesus began to lose a physical, psychological, emotional, and mental battle, all the while believing that he would win the spiritual war. The more he listened to the voice of his coach that day, the worse it got. He allowed himself to be stripped down, mocked, spat on, beaten, and tortured for our sakes. Then in the greatest act of love in human history, he allowed them to hang him up on a cross. Yet, Jesus kept fighting differently. When we're losing, what do we usually do? We exert more effort, right? We pump ourselves up, we hit harder, but God is saying the key to winning the spiritual battle is to surrender deeper. It's not to fight better, it's to yield to the Spirit more.